Hello and welcome to Vantage This Week, a show where we recap the highlights of the week gone by. 7 terrorists killed 26 tourists in Kashmir's Pahalgam. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has vowed to punish the attackers and their backers. He said that terrorism will never break India's spirit. New Delhi has suspended the Indus Waters Treaty with Pakistan. Other diplomatic measures have also been taken. How has Islamabad reacted? We'll discuss all of that. US Vice President J.D. Vance visited India with his family this week. The visit has fast-tracked the India-US trade deal. But Vance's children were the ones who stole the show. Global markets have stayed volatile due to Trump's tariffs, but gold continues to rise. We will tell you why. All this and more lined up. Let's get started.
Please ask for help.
You okay? You need a water, sir?
मेरा पति साइड में था, एक इंसान आया, उसने उसको गोली मारी।
यहाँ पे।
In cozy think tanks, people often debate a question. What is terrorism? Is it religious? Is it political? Or is it a mix? Is it a movement or an ideology? Well, tonight I can show you. I can show you what terrorism looks like. A young woman sitting beside her husband's dead body. This heartbreak, this loss, this tragedy. This is what terrorism looks like. And today it came for Kashmir. The news trickled in around evening. Terrorists targeted tourists in Kashmir's Pahalgam, specifically the Baisaran Valley. This is a location off the main road in town. It's only accessible on foot. Reports say 2 or 3 armed men entered the valley and they shot the tourists assembled there. Survivors say it was a targeted killing, that terrorists tried to identify non-Muslims and shot them. A video has emerged from the location. It shows the aftermath of the deadly attack. Take a look at this.
मेरा पति साइड में था, एक इंसान आया, उसने उसको गोली मार दी।
यहाँ पे
उसने बोला कि ये शायद मुस्लिम नहीं है, उसने उसको गोली मार दी।
नहीं आप टेंशन मत लो। अब बेटा आप यहाँ पे रहो, हम साथ में।
मेरे पति का बच्चा लो।
हम बचा देगा, कोई बात नहीं। भैया
Please ask for help. We don't need.
Okay, don't worry. You okay? You need a water, sir?
Sir, we'll manage. Just ask for help.
The images are very disturbing. We advise viewer discretion. Reports say at least 20 people have been killed in this attack. Many of the survivors were rushed to a nearby hospital. Some of them are reportedly critical. Those who managed to escape are recounting the events. Listen to one such account.
लोगों ने आवाज दी है कि फायरिंग हो रही है और चलते जाइए। बस ऐसे दौड़ा, आगे दौड़ते जा रहे थे हम लोग और पीछे से लोग आ रहे थे, हमको धक्के दे रहे थे। हम लोगों के पैरों में भी आ गए। फिर उन्होंने मुझे उठाए, बच्चे को, मेरा बेटा भी है, वो पीछे था, उनको निकाले। हम पीछे ध्यान ही नहीं दे रहे थे क्योंकि हमको आगे की सोचना था।
कितने टूरिस्ट वहाँ पे थे?
4-5 हजार होंगे।
4-5 हजार
बच्चे भी थे छोटे-छोटे।
Now, these numbers and pictures and accounts make one thing quite clear, that this was a massive attack, a well-planned, targeted operation, possibly the deadliest attack on civilians in recent years in India. And who was behind it? One group has claimed responsibility. TRF, the Resistance Front, TRF, it's basically an offshoot of Pakistan's Lashkar-e-Toiba. This group emerged after 2019. That's when Article 370 was abolished, when Jammu and Kashmir lost its special powers and statehood. Reports say the terrorists fled after the attack, but their days could be numbered. Top Indian officials have promised to hunt them down. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Saudi Arabia right now. He's been briefed on the attack. Let me quote from his statement. Those behind this heinous attack will be brought to justice. They will not be spared. Their evil agenda will never succeed. Our resolve is to fight terrorism. To fight terrorism is unshakable, and it will get even stronger. Prime Minister Modi has also asked Home Minister Amit Shah to visit the attack site. Once there, the minister will take stock of the situation. Many countries are condemning this attack. So far, we've heard from Israel, Singapore and Argentina. I'm sure others will join in soon. Now, there are many angles and many statements to decode here, and we will do some of that. But let's also dwell on those people for a moment, on what they went through. All they wanted was a nice holiday in the valleys of Kashmir, a few days of joy with their loved ones, a chance to soak in the beauty, a chance to forget their troubles and make new memories. That's what they came here for. We've all been there. Instead, these families were ripped apart. Those memories were tainted by blood. And this is exactly what the terrorists want. They want to drive fear into the hearts of people, because if they don't, Kashmir will succeed. And if Kashmir succeeds, they will not. Just look at how many tourists were visiting Jammu and Kashmir. 2.35 crore. 2.35 crore people visited in 2024. The year before, it was 2.11 crore people. So Kashmir tourism was thriving. Big companies were eyeing investments there. Elections had just been completed. A new government was charting future plans. All in all, things were looking up for Jammu and Kashmir, and on cue, the terrorists struck. Clearly, their masters in Pakistan have been plotting. We saw indications last week. Pakistan's Army Chief made a fiery speech. He called Kashmir his country's jugular vein. He promised to never abandon the Kashmir issue, the Pakistan Army Chief, and just days later this attack happens. Also, do not forget, the US Vice President is in India right now. JD Vance is visiting India, so the global media is looking closely at us. Again, on cue, the terrorists struck. If you put all of this together, a clear picture emerges. This is a well-planned, opportunistic attack. The question is, how should India respond? The first focus should be on security. Was there an intelligence lapse leading up to the attack? Was the security apparatus not enough? These questions will have to be probed. Beyond that, there must be a military response. India has worked hard to bring normalcy to Kashmir. You cannot let terrorists ruin that good work. It's important to hunt down and neutralize these threats. Indians will take time to process this grief, but the Indian government does not have that luxury. They must chart a quick response, because such an attack must not be left unanswered. The question is, what should that response be? In one word, firm. I know that means different things to different people. For some, it could mean bombing Pakistani cities. For others, simple diplomatic condemnation. The government's job is to pick the right one, and yes, emotions will play a role here, but so should strategic and pragmatic thought. Just a short while back, India's Foreign Ministry briefed the media. It announced 5 measures against Pakistan. Number 1, India has temporarily suspended the Indus Water Treaty. This suspension will remain until Pakistan stops sponsoring terrorism. Number 2, the border checkpost in Atari has been closed. Number 3, visas issued to Pakistani nationals have been cancelled. They have 48 hours to leave India. Number 4, Pakistan's military advisors at the New Delhi mission have been declared persona non grata. They have a week to leave India. Indian defense advisors in Pakistan will also be returning. And number 5, overall strength of the high commissions will be reduced from the current 55 to 30. Listen to what India's Foreign Secretary said.
In the briefing to the CCS, the cross-border linkages of the terrorist attack were brought out. It was noted that this attack came in the wake of the successful holding of the elections in the Union Territory and its steady progress towards economic growth and development. The CCS reviewed the overall security situation and directed all forces to maintain high vigil. It resolved that the perpetrators of this attack will be brought to justice and their sponsors held to account.
So that's the diplomatic response. What about the military options? Number 1, a land-based operation in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, a sort of surgical strike, and India has done this. in 2016, when Pakistani terrorists attacked an Indian army post in Uri. In response, Indian commandos crossed the line of control. They took out terror camps in POK. Such an operation is one option. Number 2, airstrikes using fighter jets. Again, this has been done before. In 2019, Pakistani terrorists had killed 40 Indian security personnel. In response, Indian jets bombed Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Option number 3 is drones. India has expanded its drone fleet since 2019. Plus, drone attacks have become common since the Ukraine war. We've seen Israel and Iran exchange drone strikes too. Number 4 is anti-terror operations in Kashmir. Basically, flush out terrorists operating in the valley, including those from yesterday's attack. So, which of these will India choose? As things stand, a retaliation against Pakistan looks likely. Remember, the terrorists did not hit military targets. They killed innocent civilians in cold blood. So the public sentiment across the country is very clear. India must impose a cost on Pakistan. Secondly, a precedent has been set since 2016. First, a commando operation, then a full-fledged airstrike. So New Delhi has followed the policy of deterrence. When Pakistani terrorists hit, India hits back. The idea is to make Islamabad think twice before attacking. India did that in 2016. It did so again in 2019. But if you don't do it this time, it may dilute India's deterrence policy. Of course, this time Pakistan will be expecting it. Reports say they have declared a high alert along the LOC, so India is planning and Pakistan is waiting. I know some people want an Israel-like response. And yes, we get the anger and the emotions. But it's also important to be rooted in reality. Pakistan has nuclear weapons, Gaza did not. Israel wanted to kill Gazan civilians, India does not. In 2016 and 2019, India did not target Pakistani civilians. Our armed forces specifically took out terrorist targets. So the key is to pick the right option. You must answer the calls for revenge. You must impose a cost on Pakistan. You must weaken the terror infrastructure and you must re-establish deterrence. Ideally, it should be a hybrid response. Use the military to make Pakistan pay and use diplomacy to bolster the anti-terrorist campaign.
उनकी कल्पना से भी बड़ी सजा मिले। We will pursue them to the ends of the earth.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi always speaks in Hindi. At the United Nations, he delivers speeches in Hindi. At the White House, he spoke in Hindi. And at home, it's the same deal. He never veers from Hindi. But today he did. The Indian Prime Minister was speaking at an event in the state of Bihar. It was his first speech after the Kashmir attack. During this address, the Prime Minister switched to English for a short but powerful message. Listen to this.
Today, from the soil of Bihar, I say to the whole world, India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backers. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth. India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism. Terrorism will not go unpunished.
Why this rare change? Because this was not just a message to Indians or even to Pakistanis. This was a message to the whole world. India is going to hunt down the people behind Tuesday's attack. The attackers, their sponsors, the plotters, everyone. And the wording was sharp. Prime Minister Modi promised to pursue them to the ends of the earth. It's a clear declaration that borders do not matter. If the culprits are in Pakistan, they will be hit. It's only a question of how and when. Right now, India is preparing on two fronts. The first is military moves. We are seeing anti-terror operations in Jammu and Kashmir. In Udhampur, security forces targeted terror hideouts. One soldier was killed in the gunfight. In Poonch, another operation is underway. The army is looking to flush out terrorists hiding there. These are dense, hilly areas. So the operations will be long and draining. Outside Kashmir, bigger preparations are underway. Today, the Indian Navy conducted a test. It fired a missile from the INS Surat. Now, the INS Surat is an indigenous missile destroyer. It shot down a fast, low-moving target. Take a look at this. There is some background here. Pakistan issued a maritime notice yesterday. They're doing live fire drills in the Arabian Sea for 2 days, today and tomorrow. Their plan is to test a surface-to-surface missile. And that is why India carried out its own test. What India fired is called an interceptor missile. Its job is to shoot down incoming projectiles. So India is covering all its bases. As for the retaliation, there is no consensus yet. Some experts are expecting India to hit back in days. Others say it could take weeks. And naturally, the government is silent. They will keep all plans under wraps. But India's former army chief has proposed a strategy. I'm talking about retired General M.M. Naravne. Let me quote from what he said. In the aftermath of the attack, Pakistan will be on guard, knowing that it is now in the crosshairs. Let them be on tenterhooks for a while till they start jumping at shadows. Meanwhile, we must build up global support through political, diplomatic and military channels of communication for our retaliatory measures for when, not if, happens. Let me simplify that for you. The general wants Pakistan to stew. In the meantime, he is asking India to build up diplomatic support. Then, when Pakistan least expects it, hit back. Which brings us to India's second front, building political support. This involves moves at home and abroad. Today, the Defence Minister chaired an all-party meeting. He briefed the opposition on the Kashmir attack. The idea is to ensure that everyone is on the same page. During such times, political parties do unite behind the government. But it's also important to keep them in the loop. And same thing abroad. You just heard Prime Minister Modi's speech in Bihar. That was India's declaration of intent. Next comes consensus building. Today, the Foreign Secretary of India invited envoys of G20 nations for a briefing. Representatives of all major powers were briefed. Germany, the UK, Japan, Russia, France, the European Union, even China. They were all briefed. Chances are this is the first step. We may also see the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister get busy on the phone. They may want to keep India's partners in the loop. In fact, Prime Minister Modi had 2 phone conversations today with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Of course, the final decision must be New Delhi's. Other countries will try to discourage India, and that has been the pattern in the past too. The world knows that both India and Pakistan are nuclear powers, so leaders across the world are scared of a nuclear escalation. But New Delhi should stand firm. Just like it did in 2016 and 2019, there must be a firm response against Pakistan. The public expectation is something deadlier than a surgical strike or an airstrike. Let's see which way India goes.
We are different from the Hindus in every possible aspect of life.
The attack may have happened in Kashmir, but make no mistake, it was plotted in Rawalpindi. That is where Pakistan's real leader holds court. I'm talking about their Army Chief, General Asim Munir. He was visiting Central Asia yesterday. He met the President of Kazakhstan in Astana. But today he was back in Islamabad. Just look at him in Pakistan's national security meeting, a pen and notepad in hand. He is writing down what Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is saying. It has to be the biggest farce in the world. Everyone knows who calls the shots in Pakistan. It's certainly not the Prime Minister, it is the Army Chief. And his intention was quite clear last week. General Munir fired a warning shot at India. He called Kashmir his country's jugular vein.
Government stance on Kashmir is absolutely clear. It was our jugular vein. It is our jugular vein. We will not forget it. And we will not leave our Kashmiri brethren in their heroic struggle, what they are waging against the Indian occupation.
Days later, the Pahalgam attack happened. But since then, he's been silent. No bravado, no tall claims and no hate speeches. General Munir has let the government do the talking. Frankly, it's classic Rawalpindi tactic. They plot terror attacks across the border, and when things get serious, they curiously go silent. The question is, what does Asim Munir want? Does he want a full-fledged confrontation? Does he want a flare-up? Does he want a distraction? Or does he want a resolution? The first scenario appears unlikely. Pakistan's military is already stretched. They're facing challenges along the borders with Iran and Afghanistan. Plus, there is a militant threat in Balochistan. So I'm sure General Munir has read some history as well. He was too young in 1971 to remember what happened. Pakistan surrendered to the Indian military. That's what happened in 1971. So General Munir cannot risk a full-fledged conflict with India. If common sense prevails, that is. What about a flare-up or distraction? Well, a flare-up would be a distraction, and General Munir could use that right now. The Pakistan army does not have the grip on power it once did. Recent political events have turned many Pakistanis against them. We saw that in 2023 when Imran Khan was arrested. Thousands of his supporters hit the streets in protest. They also targeted military offices. Those protests really shook the Pakistan army. Because until then, the army was beyond doubt or protest. A sort of sacred institution in Pakistan. They lived with that illusion. It was broken 2 years back. And since then, it's been a downward spiral. The economy is mostly in the dumps. Investors and allies have largely run away. And the provinces are in rebellion. You saw the train hijacking in Balochistan last month. It was a brazen and risky attack. And it was not a one-off. Pakistan logged, listen to this, they saw more than 1,100 terror attacks last year. It was the highest in more than 10 years, 1,100 attacks in 1 year. Of course, these were done by bad terrorists, not the good kind who slaughtered innocents in Kashmir, because that's how Pakistan sees terrorism. The good ones attack India, the bad ones attack Pakistan, but that's a story for another day perhaps. The point right now is Pakistan's security situation is pretty bad. The army has been unable to keep people safe. Actually, forget people. Soldiers and police officers are among the biggest victims of these attacks. So the Pakistan army cannot even keep itself safe. And finally, you have the Imran Khan factor. His supporters have not given up the fight. His party remains immensely popular across Pakistan, which is why Asim Munir would love a distraction. A face-off, but not a war. A response from India would give him that. A cause to rally all Pakistanis, a chance to boost the army's morale and popularity. But will it work? For a few months, maybe. In the long term, no. Pakistan and India have chosen very different paths. In India, we are having all-party discussions. In Pakistan, their top opposition leader is in jail. In India, Kashmiri Muslims stood up against the terrorism. In Pakistan, the army chief praised the two-nation theory. In India, the army awaits the Prime Minister's order. In Pakistan, the Prime Minister awaits the army's order. Only one of these systems is designed to win, and that is India's. General Asim Munir can sponsor terror to hide his failures, but he won't succeed for long. His speech last week reeked of desperation. His silence now exposes it. The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. You may have heard this before. It means training and readiness in times of peace are crucial for success in wartime. And India has been preparing, both before and after the Pahalgam attack. Yesterday, the Indian Air Force launched Exercise Akraman. The word Akraman literally translates to attack. The exercise comes right after the terror attack in Pahalgam. As Pakistan increases ceasefire violations, India is preparing for an escalation. Rafale and Su-30 jets are in the skies. Here's what we know about the exercise. Here's what it is about. It's about precision strikes, air dominance sorties, and integrated warfare. The aim? To simulate a real-time high-intensity conflict. So the message is loud and clear. India's military is switching gears to offensive mode. The drills are taking place over central India. The Indian Air Force has mobilized its strike force. We told you about the Rafale and the Su-30 jets. Fighter pilots are practicing complex missions like long-range missions and airstrikes in mountainous regions. The idea is quite simple. Practice to breach enemy lines and deliver a deadly blow. Does it sound familiar? It should, because this is a doctrine that India has used before. I'm talking about the Balakot strikes from February 2019. That's when the Indian Air Force bombed terror camps deep inside Pakistan. You may remember the terror attack in Pulwama. A suicide bomber attacked a convoy of Indian security forces. 40 soldiers were killed, 40. All fingers pointed to Pakistan, from funding to training the suicide bomber. India was shocked and angry. And 12 days later, India retaliated. Mirage 2000 jets crossed into Pakistan. They bombed Jaish-e-Mohammed terror camps in Pakistan's Balakot. The mission lasted a total of 21 minutes. It was the first airstrike on Pakistani soil since 1971. A bold move that shattered Pakistan's nuclear blackmail. Balakot was not just a military strike, it was a message. India's doctrine and threshold both had shifted, and terror would be met with force. What came next was an air skirmish, where India lost a MiG-21. Balakot was a tactical win for India, but it also exposed a few gaps, like lack of joint planning, delays in intelligence sharing, and the need for modern air power. Remember, all of this happened 6 years ago. India took the lessons and began the work, and look at what has changed since then. Starting with the defense budget. India's defense budget has grown from $42 billion to $75 billion. That's a jump of nearly 82%. Modernization has been relentless. India has invested heavily on offensive capabilities. The Air Force now has Rafale jets. These jets can carry 2 lethal weapons. The first is the Meteor. This is a long-range air-to-air missile. It can hit targets more than 150 kilometers away. The second is the Scalp missile, a long-range air-to-ground missile. It can take out terror camps 500 kilometers away. The absence of Rafales was felt in Balakot, but now India has them. It has also upgraded other platforms. Long-range missiles and bombs have been integrated into the Su-30 jets, like the Astra, India's homegrown long-range air-to-air missile, and the BrahMos, a supersonic cruise missile that has 99.99% accuracy. Apache attack helicopters are now in the ranks. The transport fleet has newer aircraft. So India has invested in its offensive capabilities. What about defense? India did not have its best anti-aircraft system in 2019, but now it is fully operational. I'm talking about the S-400 air defense system. They can take down targets 400 kilometers away, which is basically every Pakistani airbase. Every Pakistani airbase is in range. The S-400 was missing in 2019, but now it is fully deployed. And these are just a handful of upgrades. A lot has changed since Balakot. India's surveillance network has expanded with satellites and drones. Procurement for the armed forces has significantly increased. We already told you about the Air Force's purchases. The Army and Navy have also made major procurements, like the Pinaka rocket systems, aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines. Even the infrastructure has been expanded. Border roads are wider, Air bases and logistical hubs have been upgraded. Weapons manufacturing has seen a 174% rise. 174%. And you know what has been the biggest change in the last few years? The mindset. The political will to strike back and the military's resolve to hit with precision. Since Balakot, India's approach has been clear. Offense is the best defense. It is a signal to Islamabad. India's patience is not its weakness. India is ready to respond to terrorism on its terms and at a time of its choosing. So the military preparation is underway. Chances are we will see a strike in the coming days or weeks. At the same time, political work is also happening. Yesterday, the government convened an all-party meeting. Leaders of 15 parties were present. The meeting was chaired by India's Defence Minister. Also present were the Home Minister and the External Affairs Minister. This meeting kicked off with a presentation by the Intelligence Bureau Chief. He described how the attack unfolded. He also spelled out the immediate response. The government made two main points yesterday. One, the attack was intended to disrupt Kashmir's progress. The valley was seeing a tourism bump. Clearly, the terrorists wanted to stop that. They wanted to vitiate the atmosphere. And second, that a firm response would follow. The government promised a zero-tolerance approach to terrorism.
सरकार का आतंकवाद के खिलाफ जीरो टॉलरेंस पॉलिसी के बारे में शुरू में बताया कि एक घटना बहुत दुखद है, उसके वजह से जो देश भर में सब लोग चिंतित हैं, उसको लेते हुए भारत सरकार ने और भी कड़ी कार्रवाई करने का मंशा को भी आज जताया है.
Of course, details of the response were not discussed. And the opposition did not push for it either. The Congress party joined the government in condemning the attack. They promised full support for any move.
यूनिफॉर्मली कंडेम किया है सबने और पूरी सपोर्ट किया ऑपोजिशन ने, सरकार कोई भी एक्शन नहीं.
Some questions were also raised. The Congress asked why Prime Minister Modi was not present in the meeting. Several parties also flagged the possibility of a security lapse, and reports say that the government admitted it. As you know, the attack happened in Pahalgam's Baisaran Valley. Now, this valley is usually closed during the winter. It opens only in the month of June. But this year, it was open in April. Tour operators began taking bookings from the 20th of April, and the government was not aware of it. Hence, the security lapse. All in all, the meeting lasted for around 2 hours. Afterwards, we saw a united front. In Jammu and Kashmir, another all-party meeting was organized. This one involved parties active in the region, like the National Conference, the Congress Party, the BJP and the PDP. Their leaders condemned the Pahalgam attack. They called it an attack on Kashmiriyat, which is the Kashmiri way of life.
Such cowardly acts of brutality against peaceful citizens have no place in society and are a direct assault on the values of Kashmiriyat and the idea of India, which have long been a symbol of unity, peace and harmony in the region. We stand unwavering in our commitment to support all efforts to bring these perpetrators to justice.
Some Kashmiri students have reported harassment. Such cases have been seen in Dehradun, Chandigarh and Noida. Jammu and Kashmir groups say that they have received more than 1,000 distress calls, and this issue also came up in the meeting. Chief Minister Omar Abdullah flagged the attacks. He says he's in touch with his counterparts. Now, all these political moves may seem time-consuming and unnecessary. You may think, why talk instead of hitting back? But this process is very important. For starters, it sets us apart from the likes of Pakistan. In Islamabad, there is no such consensus. Their opposition leaders are in jail and the government takes orders from the army, an army that the people of Pakistan increasingly do not support. In New Delhi, things work differently. It works like a democracy is supposed to work. Secondly, political consensus is key for military action. It ensures that everyone is on the same page, that all parties speak in one voice. This gives the government confidence to take bold steps. It also boosts the morale of the armed forces. And that was the biggest takeaway from yesterday's meeting. Yes, the opposition had questions. Yes, they raised some concerns. But in the end, there was unity on display, which is very different from the scenes across the border. Unity is a key weapon in a country's arsenal, and India is armed with it.
Take a drop of water, sir, please.
Here's what we know about the terrorists. They belong to a group called the TRF, the Resistance Front. This group has claimed responsibility. As we've been telling you, 7 people were involved, 7 terrorists. The Jammu and Kashmir police have released 3 sketches. They're based on eyewitness accounts. And 3 names have been released: Asif Fauji, Suleiman Shah, and Abu Talha. Asif Fauji is believed to be the leader of this pack. He was reportedly trained by the Pakistan Army, hence the name Fauji, which means soldier in Punjabi and Urdu. So we know that the leader of this attack was trained in Pakistan, but that's not the only link. Survivors say that 2 of the attackers spoke Pashto, a language spoken in Pakistan and Afghanistan. The people of Kashmir do not speak Pashto. They speak Kashmiri or Urdu. So the attackers came from across the border. Even their method of attack reeks of military training. They wore combat fatigues. These clothes are worn by military personnel to blend into jungle-like surroundings. So the terrorists either wanted to camouflage themselves, or they wanted to pose as security personnel to trick the tourists. They carried military-grade weapons like AK-47 assault rifles, tactical vests with magazine pouches and body cams to record the horror. Indian security agencies are investigating the attack site. They have made several initial assessments. Some victims were shot from a distance. Indian agencies have flagged sniper-like tactics. And this kind of training is highly advanced. Only militaries have snipers, or terror groups trained by militaries in this case. And these abound in Pakistan. Let me also tell you about the TRF, the Resistance Front, a shadow outfit of the LET, the Lashkar-e-Toiba, a terrorist group based in Pakistan, funded and trained by the Pakistan Army. The Lashkar-e-Toiba was co-founded by a man called Hafiz Saeed, the man who masterminded the 26/11 attacks in Mumbai. The LET is a globally recognized terrorist group. In 2019, their offshoot called the TRF emerged. This was after the abrogation of Article 370, which ended the special status of Jammu and Kashmir. Since then, the TRF has been active in Kashmir. India banned this group in 2023. Of course, Pakistan continues to support it because it needed to rebrand its terror factories. The Lashkar-e-Toiba was on global watch lists, so Pakistan relaunched it with a new name, the Resistance Front. And this meant 2 things. First, it no longer had Islamist names like Lashkar. And second, it now had words like resistance in the name. It's a poor attempt to brand it as a local-led movement, and it's fooling no one. The TRF is as Pakistani as it gets. Its weapons, its funding, its commanders all trace back to Pakistan. For example, the leader of TRF. His name is Saifullah Khalid, aka Saifullah Kasuri. Saifullah Khalid is believed to be the mastermind behind the Pahalgam attack. He was a top Lashkar-e-Toiba commander, also a close aide of Hafiz Saeed. And he leads the LET's Peshawar headquarters. Basically, everything points to Pakistan. And the TRF's modus operandi is exactly like the LET. Use social media to recruit youth, brainwash them by showing propaganda about Kashmir, send them to training camps and infiltrate them into India using the Pakistan Army's cover to kill innocent people. The TRF's blood trail is long. They have carried out more than 20 terrorist attacks in Kashmir over a period of 5 years. The victims are usually security personnel, but this time they went after tourists. And their violence has a pattern. No attack is carried out without body cams. They film their savagery to spread fear. This is the TRF's playbook: high visibility attacks to destabilize Kashmir's growth. Pakistan is the cornerstone for this group. Every move is approved by their handlers across the border. The TRF is the latest addition to Pakistan's proxy war against India. When something like this happens, the world comes together. You forget geopolitics and ideology. Instead, you stand in solidarity with the victims. And most of the world is doing that. US President Donald Trump spoke to Prime Minister Modi. He condemned the attack and promised to fight against terrorism. His deputy, J.D. Vance, is in India right now. He too offered condolences.
I want to just, of course, issue our condolences to the people of Kashmir who were affected by this terrible terrorist attack. And obviously, we're providing whatever assistance and help we can provide to the government, to the people of India.
China also issued a strong statement. They condemned the attack in Kashmir yesterday. They also sent sympathies to the families.
China has noted the relevant reports and strongly condemns this attack. China firmly opposes terrorism in all its forms. We mourn the victims and extend our sincere sympathies to the families of the victims and the injured.
The list is quite long. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Russian President Vladimir Putin, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, all of them have condemned yesterday's attack. Like I said, countries tend to close ranks when something like this happens. But I'll tell you who doesn't. Western media outlets. For them, this is an opportunity, whether it's to take potshots at India or to question India's sovereignty over Kashmir. And I'll give you some examples. Here's the BBC's article on the attack. It uses the word terror 3 times, but not once to describe what happened yesterday. They simply quoted world leaders who called it terrorism. Now let me show you The Guardian. The same pattern. They've used the word terror 3 times, but only while quoting world leaders. And their first article was even worse. It said, suspected militants killed at least 26 tourists. The only thing suspect here is The Guardian's journalistic standards. Next is the New York Times. They have put terror attack in double quotes. I guess the massacre of 26 civilians does not qualify as terror. Sky News in Britain have done the same. They have placed the word terror in quotes. France 24 says the attack was carried out by gunmen, not terrorists, gunmen. And finally, you have the Turkish outlet TRT. Their headline takes the prize. Multiple tourists killed in Kashmir shooting incident. Incident. I guess technically they're right. In the same way, 9/11 was a building collapse. Did the World Trade Center collapse in 2001? Yes, it did. But is that the whole story? Absolutely not. These headlines reveal the bias in Western coverage. None of them have used the word terrorism. Their governments have used it, their prime ministers and presidents have used it, but somehow these media outlets simply cannot. All of them have called these terrorists gunmen and militants. Again, did these terrorists carry a gun? Yes, they did. But were they just gunmen? It's like saying the Americans carried out a military operation in Iraq. Yes, it was an operation, military in nature, but it involved invading and bombing the whole country. So my point is quite similar. Words and descriptions matter. These articles are read by millions of people. They shape public opinion in those countries, and that in turn shapes policy. So do not ignore these headlines by the Western media because they have real world impact. The question is, why do they do it? Why can't Western media call these attackers terrorists? The simple answer is politics. Let me take you back to October 2023. That's when Hamas launched an attack on Israel. Back then, almost all US media outlets called it a terror attack. Why do you think that is? Because these outlets are pro-Israel. So they don't mind calling Hamas terrorists. But when it comes to India, they downplay it. Here in India, we haven't done that. For us, 9/11 was a terrorist attack. October 7 was a terror attack, and so was yesterday in Kashmir, a terrorist attack. Media houses need to stop putting political filters on terror. It is pretentious virtue signaling at best and abetment at worst. It's a mini lockdown in Delhi because America's number 2 is visiting. I'm talking about J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States of America. He landed in New Delhi this morning. He's got 3 packed days ahead. Temple runs, fort tours, shopping sprees, bilateral talks, and finally the customary Taj Mahal visit. It's a trip very high on symbolism. A, because it's happening so early in Donald Trump's presidency, and B, because there's a trade war looming. India is hoping to avoid the US tariffs. Talks are underway to strike some sort of a bilateral deal. Vance technically does not work on trade deals, but his visit is a statement of support. Let's look at his day first. J.D. Vance is traveling with his family. His wife Usha and their 3 children are accompanying them. They landed in New Delhi at around 10 a.m. today. The Vice President was given a ceremonial welcome. Take a look. After that, the family headed to Akshardham. This is a Hindu temple located near the Delhi border. J.D. Vance and his family soaked in the architecture and heritage.
Good. Thank you all.
Now there is a local connect here. Vance's wife Usha is of Indian origin. She is a practicing Hindu with family ties to Andhra Pradesh. In fact, their children wore Indian clothes through the day. Vance's predecessor Kamala Harris was also of Indian origin, but she never travelled to India. She visited 21 countries as Vice President, but not India. Anyway, back to this trip. After Akshardham, J.D. Vance visited an emporium. He got up close with India's cottage industry products. Then finally came the big event. Vance had a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The PM also interacted with the second family before a private dinner. Take a look. Vance will fly to Jaipur tonight. Tomorrow he is expected to tour the city and give a policy speech. The day after he will visit Agra to see the Taj Mahal. All in all, a pretty packed trip. The question is, what should India take away from it? Number 1, it's clearly a show of priority. This is J.D. Vance's first trip to Asia as Vice President. He could have picked a US ally like Japan or South Korea, but he picked India. It shows that Trump prioritizes New Delhi. Trade war or not, he sees potential in this partnership. India too is expecting the trip to boost ties.
With the United States of America, we have a comprehensive strategic global partnership. So when you have that level of partnership with any country, obviously you will discuss all relevant issues. And with America, with the United States, of course, our relationship is such that we are doing anything that is part of human endeavor, forms part of our bilateral engagement. So all these issues, bilateral issues, will be discussed, and we are very positive that the visit will give a further boost to our bilateral ties.
Number 2, J.D. Vance has not been a lame duck vice president. He has been Trump's hitman. When he visited Europe, he accused them of killing free speech. When the UK Prime Minister visited Washington, he repeated the accusation, and this time in front of the Prime Minister. Let's see what he says tomorrow. The policy speech will give us some indications. And finally, number 3, this visit is part of a process. It should not be seen as a standalone trip. Last month, Trump's intelligence chief Tulsi Gabbard visited India. This month, J.D. Vance is visiting. Next up could be Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth, the American Defense Minister. Reports say that he will be visiting in the coming months. And all of this will lead to the biggest trip of them all, a visit by President Donald Trump. India is slated to host the Quad Summit later this year. Chances are Trump will attend that in person in India. Both sides will be looking to sign a trade deal by then. India is confident of making progress. They're expecting the first part of the deal to be signed by October, and that's the number one priority, to remove this looming threat of tariffs. Once that is sorted, you can tackle other issues like H-1B and student visas, concerns around Khalistan, cooperation in Bangladesh, and joint strategies for the Indo-Pacific. Like I said, J.D. Vance is not involved in these decisions. His role is largely ceremonial, but his actions and remarks offer us clues, because Vance's job is to articulate Trump's policy priorities. No frills, no half measures, no sugarcoating. He's done that in Europe and Greenland. Let's see what his message for India will be. The dollar is down, the stock market is down, but one investment is shining bright, and that is gold. Gold prices have crossed 1 lakh rupees in India. Let me repeat that, 1 lakh rupees for 10 grams of gold. Same in the US markets. Gold prices crossed $3,500 per ounce for the first time. 1 ounce equals to around 28 grams. The ounce is primarily used in the US. This is an all-time high for the yellow metal. So tonight we'll take a closer look at it. Why are gold prices surging? How high could they go? And should you buy some for yourself? Well, the why is quite obvious. Donald Trump's tariffs have disrupted global markets. It has shaken confidence in the US economy. The dollar is losing value. US stocks continue to fall. And the US bond market had a scare this month. So investors are looking for something safe. Enter gold. There are many reasons why gold is safe. For starters, humans love it. Historically, gold has been used to display wealth and power. Even today, it is used to make jewelry. Secondly, gold is limited in nature. You cannot print gold like currency, nor can you issue it like stocks or bonds. This scarcity adds to the metal's value. And finally, it's highly liquid. You can sell or pledge gold in most parts of the world, so your money will not be stuck there. All these factors make the yellow metal desirable, even more so when there is uncertainty. Which brings us to the second question. How high could prices go? Frankly, no one knows. The last couple of years have been very good for gold. Let me in fact pull up a chart to show you how. In April 2022, gold was selling for 54,000 rupees. 54,000 for 10 grams of gold. So prices have almost doubled in 3 years. Compare that to stocks. The Sensex was trading at 57,000 in April 2022. It is now at 80,000. So gold has outperformed stocks. And this is good news for most Indians. As a country, we are obsessed with gold. Indian households own around 25,000 tons of the metal. This is higher than the top 10 central banks. So the value of those Indian holdings will be up. Top bankers have praised this trend, and among them is Uday Kotak. Let me quote from what he said. The performance of gold over time highlights that the Indian housewife is the smartest fund manager in the world. That may very well be the case, but let's turn to the final question for the moment. Should you join the buying spree, or are you already late? Yes, gold prices may continue to rise because of the tariffs, but experts believe the peak is near. Plus, a lot depends on the trade talks. Let's assume that Trump manages to strike deals. Then investors could flock back to the markets. But if he does not manage a deal, then the uncertainty will continue, maybe even get worse. And then investors could double down on gold. So the trajectory depends on politics. Either way, it's not a bad idea. A balanced portfolio should have gold investments. Most experts suggest 10 to 15%. And how should you buy it? In India, there's a preference for jewelry, but as an investment, this is not advisable. A, you'll have to store and keep it safe, and B, you'll have to pay making charges on it. And both these factors should be kept in mind. So that's why most investment gurus suggest buying gold ETFs. ETFs are exchange traded funds. They basically mirror the price in the markets. You don't have to hold the physical gold, but you will make money from the price fluctuations. If you're looking to buy, keep two things in mind. One, wait for a temporary dip. You won't see major corrections in gold prices, but you could see a minor change, maybe a few hundred rupees. If you can wait, you can cash in on that. Secondly, gold is a long-term trade. If you like quick money based on wild swings, this one is not for you. You're supposed to hold it for long-term gains. Keep these things in mind and talk to your financial advisor, then take a call.